To understand the difference between men and women, we must first understand two important systems in our reality, polarity and the law of four. Polarity is the dichotomy between that which is full and gives out energy, and that which is empty and takes in energy. This is the most basic of all mechanics in our universe, and it manifests in all things, which is why the atom is made up of a negative charge as well as a positive. This stalemate creates a wave energy that manifests into actual reality from nothingness. You can look at this more simply as you probably did in math. There are negative integers and positive ones, technically equal in value in terms of their distance from zero. The negative numbers are the bottom of the wave and the positive numbers are the top of the wave. Imagine a battery with both ends connected by a wire. The positive end pushes out and is pulled in by the negative end, only ever creating electricity when connected. This is the same for gender. The sexes are polarized, with each sex on either the negative pole or the positive pole relative to each other. But this is not just based on one spectrum of masculine to feminine. It is actually based in 4 different spectrums. This is where the law of 4 comes in, which is derived from polarity, and while complex on a macro scale is actually rather easy to understand if limited to one type of instance. To understand the gender polarities, we need to know the 4 levels of consciousness, because that is what we are made of. Essentially, all cycles have 4 main points because of how polarity waves work. For example, with consciousness, the positive pole is will, and the negative pole, being the equal and opposite, is the material, which is willed into action. Both are needed for an action to be completed, the will to do it and the material to do it with. Next, and this is why there is always 4, is the falling midpoint and the rising midpoint. Rising from material to will is emotion, and falling from will to material is thought. And these make up the 4 levels of consciousness: will, thought, emotion, and body. This is not only limited to consciousness, by the way. There are 4 states of matter, 4 seasons, 4 times of day, and even 4 stages of life: childhood, adulthood, elderhood, and death. Now, let's begin with the point of this video. First and most easy to understand is body consciousness, or more broadly, the physical in general. Here, men are polarized positively, and women are polarized negatively. Relative to each other, men are fuller in physical power and women are emptier. Besides the physical size difference, this polarity spectrum is quite obvious because of how sex works. Men give and women receive. Just like a battery, the positive has the pointy end and the negative has the little hole. Connect the 2 ends of the battery and you have an electric circuit. Connect a man and a woman, and should the polarizations balance each other properly, feel the spark of sexual love. Remember, the positive starts the circuit and the negative finishes it, meaning women take the energy men give and create something with it. On the physical level, that creation is a child. In a less direct example, men give to women on the physical plane in the form of money, gifts, or direct physical labor. Why do men do this? Because it attracts women. Now, women are not so shallow as to be attracted to money, but they are attracted to what having money represents. Just like muscle, it is an indicator of the capability or amount of value that man can provide. She then turns these physical creations by man into emotional and inspirational creations. More on this later. Men's physical capability is actually counterbalanced by the lack of physical capability of women, because she is emptier on this level. The softness and weakness, which manifests as a curved petite body, is what attracts men. Not including the body, it is still the weakness that attracts men. It is cliche but true that men are more attracted to women if they feel needed by them on the physical level. Man must put his excess energy somewhere. A woman who is physically stronger and wealthier than most men will have serious trouble finding a partner. Just like a weak man with little money will also have trouble finding a partner. This is because in both cases, the man and woman are approaching the opposite polarity, and therefore will have less of a romantic spark towards the opposite sex. The distance between poles is lessened. Remember, the universe and its spectrums are neutral. Combine negative and positive and you will always get 0. Both the negative and positive of each polarity spectrum will have good points and bad points. On the physical level, women are often taken advantage of due to their lack of strength, but also due to their lack of strength are also taken care of and can even get away with violent acts. Men may have more physical power, but that comes with the cost of having to prove their physical worth to receive emotion and inspiration from women. Which brings me to the next level of consciousness. The second level of consciousness is in rise from the first. This is the level of emotion, and here the polarities flip. Women are the positive end and men are the negative. Yes, metaphorically, on this level, women have the penises and men have the vaginas. Again, relative to each other, women are the fuller of emotion and men are the emptier. Women are far more conscious of emotion and notice it far easier in themselves and others. Because of this fullness of emotion, they hope to put it into a man. This is basically emotional sex. While women are the gatekeepers of physical sex and won't sleep with just any man, men will not let themselves feel with just any woman. Therefore, just like a man always wants to have physical sex, a woman is always wanting to have emotional sex. Why? Because she is the positive pole and overflowing with emotion. She has more emotion and more freely expresses it. But it doesn't mean as much to her. Just like a man has more physical energy and more freely expresses it, physical sex does not mean as much to him. Again, here everything is just flipped. A woman, in order to attract a man, bears the burden of providing emotional value. This means she must express loving emotion, be kind, and provide good feelings for the man. Now, the less emotion a man has, the more a woman will be initially attracted. Just like the less physical a woman has, the more a man will be initially attracted. For example, the silent or not caring types who couldn't really be bothered much about the woman, and I quote, won't let her in, are the most attractive to women because they are the emptiest in emotion, which expresses itself as a man who cares only for a few things. Seriously, how many times have you heard, "Why won't he let me in?" by a love-struck woman in a romantic movie? Also, why that wording, "let me in"? Where is she going into? She is going into his heart. She is hoping to have emotional sex. She has the penis and man has the vagina on this level. The reason she likes the walled-up, emotionally unexpressive man is for the same reason that men like virgins. Conversely, women do not like emotional, clingy men who easily give it out on the emotional level, just like men do not like sluts who easily give it out on the physical level. In summary, weak or lacking emotion is attractive to women, and weak or lacking physical ability is attractive to men because it is polarizing to the full. The gender should realize that their powers lie in their natural polarities. Women will never match men's physical ability, but she can use the negative polarity, beauty, to manifest a different, almost bewitching power, equal in strength, and does not involve having to strain the body, which comes with the responsibility of having physical power. It is the same on the emotional level. Men can never hope to match the hearts of women, but through the negative polarity, emotional beauty, men can manifest a different, almost bewitching power on women, equal in strength, as well as not having to strain the heart, which comes with the responsibility of having emotional power. Let me reiterate again, because the dynamics between poles repeat on each level. Here, men are the negative polarity. Emotionally, men can be taken advantage of, but are also cared for. Women may have more emotional power, but that comes with the cost of having to prove their worth by providing good emotions in order to receive physical provision and protection from men. Though it doesn't end there. Trading emotions for provision seems a bit shallow, because it is yet not the full picture. The next level is what most think of as the mind. This is the level of thoughts, and it is in fall from the fourth level. This is where it starts to get a bit more complicated. Here the polarities flip yet again. Men are on the positive end of the spectrum and women are on the negative. On this level, man is overflowing with thought. Men are more conscious of their own thoughts as well as others, just like women are with emotions. In this way, men are more expressive of ideas, opinions, advice, and love to explain things to other people. You can see this in how most scientists and philosophers are men. Men want to have mental sex, putting their thoughts into others. You may have noticed that men are very attracted to women with similar interests, whereas women care less for having similar interests to men. This is because interests are something that can be related with on the mental level. If a man can convince a woman to be interested in something he is interested in, he has achieved mental sex. Another route to achieving mental sex is changing a woman's opinion or understanding of something. Also, it should be noted that on this level, men can also have mental sex with men, depending on relative polarity levels. If one man has more thought in some area and another less, one being more positively polarized, he can alter the opinion of the other man achieving mental sex with him. Same-sex sex can obviously happen on every level, but most common on higher levels. Same-sex sex is usually a less polarized sex by law of nature. Now, to make thought and emotion clearer, it is important to contrast. Remember, thought is in fall from will. Therefore, you can imagine will falling to earth, meaning that thought breaks things apart in order to figure a way to accomplish a goal. For example, with the goal of growing muscle, one must understand all of the component parts of the body, knowing which muscles to target and how to target them in order to build the goal of a fit body. Emotion is in rise from the physical, so imagine a force going from the earth back into will. This takes a physical thing and places a single impression onto it, from which the direction of the will is derived. For example, seeing a well-built muscular man, the feeling of awe and admiration ensues in a woman. This has no understanding of component parts within it, but an instant, almost intuitive knowing of the worth of it, which places a goal into the realm of will for men to then achieve. And this is, of course, largely decided by women. For example, in the West, muscle is a great goal because of the emotion it inspires in women. But in Japan, muscle is at a too high level, actually causing of fear in their women. Therefore, only a small amount of muscle is targeted in Japan. To conclude, women raise something physical up into an aspiration. Men see an aspiration, figure out how to accomplish it, and then create it physically. This is the interchange of emotional and mental sex. It is actually this interchange that creates personal perspectives, culture, faiths, and so on. Women's perspective is more about how we should treat each other and what beliefs we should have, emotion and will. Men create a perspective more about what should be done physically and what methods would work best, physical and mental. These perspectives work together, and it should be noted that both men and women can see both perspectives and understand them, but not to the same level of degree or precision. The main difference being the level of importance placed on each one. For men, there must be a reason to justify having a feeling. For women, there must be a feeling to justify having a reason. Let me reiterate again, because the dynamics between poles repeat on each level. Here, women are the emptier polarity. Mentally, women can be taken advantage of, especially in logical arguments, but are also cared for. Men may have more mental power, but that comes with the cost of having to solve the emotional problems of women in order to receive the emotional love and care he lacks within himself. Also, and this brings us to the fourth level of consciousness, as hinted, men receive much of their inspiration and will to succeed from women. Now, before I begin with the level of will, I must say that at the higher levels, being thought and will, people are affected by the energies in general. It's no longer so much of a human-to-human thing, although it still can be. What I mean is, a man does not need a specific woman to have inspiration or will to do something. This is true for two reasons. One, again, these polarities are relative. Man is emptier in will, but only relative to women who are fuller. He still has will of his own. Now, it's relative, meaning a man can even be feminine to a more masculine man, and a woman can be masculine to a more feminine woman. Poles work along spectrums. Second, men can be inspired by the image of a woman they have in their head. They can be inspired by feminine energy in general. Society, which is inherently feminine, is a great example and the most common one. Men are often driven to be accepted and loved by society. Be this through fame or respect, men are driven by the result of receiving good emotions from society. Society is feminine overall because society is about the feelings and will of the people. Now, men are motivated by a task in and of itself if it is prevalent enough in society. For example, the quest to cure cancer is an illustrious goal placed as on high by society, by the feminine. But why is the feminine setting goals? Because the will is inherently attached to emotion. Cancer causes the feeling of hatred towards it, as well as fear. These emotions mean get rid of it. Therefore, the will to end cancer begins. Do you see what I mean? On the opposite side, thought is inherently tied to the physical and vice versa. Civilization is the masculine counterpart to the feminine society. Civilization describes what we do, the inventions we've made, as well as the methods behind the things or how we do things. Now, women are positively polarized in will, so they don't receive will from the masculine. I guess they could receive will from the more feminine, but that's beside the point. You can see this positive polarity in will in the way that women strive for wholeness, wanting most things that there are to want. By this I mean, when a girl is 5 years old, she has already planned her wedding, perfect house, the 3 kids she's having, the places she's going to travel, the things she's going to buy, and what kind of guy she wants, and what kind of guy she is going to need to accomplish all of her desires. This is where hypergamy comes in for any red pills watching. It's not just the burden of childbirth. But anyways, that's another video. Men, on the other hand, are the negative pole here. So are the ones tasked with bringing a goal into realization. They are impregnated with the goal and then birth it. This is why men will often develop one strong goal and strive after just it, giving birth to the result should they go far enough. Women don't receive motivation because they are motivation, inherently placing value in all things. This is why branded clothing for women skyrockets in price and male brands hit a price ceiling. This value setting is essentially the award that society will give for the obtainment of whatever it is that is valued. For example, curing cancer is very highly valued and will be rewarded by society. Now, what is awarded by civilization? We know that society awards through the obtainment of the goal itself and the positive emotion that comes with it. Okay, so the awards are based in the feminine positive polarizations. Well, civilization is the same. The positives being physical and mental. The rewards of civilization are usually in the form of money, and with it, more things to think about and break down. In the opposite way to how I described men being motivated by society, women's emotions and values are supplemented and made more complex by the things they learn and the physical experiences they have, or in other words, the thoughts and things they receive. As you can see, the masculine and feminine energies cycle each other like the yin-yang, increasingly growing each other. The masculine feeds the feminine, and the feminine feeds the masculine. To end as I have, men can be taken advantage of here if at an early age latch on to a pointless or not so good pursuit, but are taken care of by the fact that society, women, will award nearly all pursuits of hard work. Seriously, I'm not kidding about this. There are many men with evil pursuits that still attract many women. Think about the movies that make crime seem sexy. Here, women have more power, but are stuck with the burden of having many goals they cannot complete themselves. This is because women have multiple goals, and more importantly, men are polarized negatively here, and therefore are the ones to get pregnant and bring about these goals into physical and mental realization. In closing, at each level of consciousness, the act of sex is energetically taking place. By this I mean that the feminine is eating the masculine to create more feminine, and the masculine is eating the feminine to create more masculine. For example, man is impregnated by emotion and will. He then births his creation as physical or mental or both. A man who has been impregnated with the emotion of fear and a powerful goal will then have the inspiration to destroy whatever it is. For example, the motivation to end cancer is tied with the emotion of fear or hatred. So through fear and hatred, with the goal of fixing cancer, much about oncology is studied and recorded for knowledge, mental, and then eventually cancer, the physical, is destroyed. Next, women are impregnated by the physical and mental and create emotion and will. For example, a woman learns about the environmental crises and all the plastic in the ocean, then creates a disgust emotion with it and the goal to obliterate the problem. Do you see the cycle? Men then receive the disgust emotion and goal to obliterate the plastic in the ocean, and once men accomplish it, women will see the new physical and methods behind it and create a new emotion and will. The feminine and the masculine is an endless cycle, or wave pattern of duality, which keeps the world in motion. Should one gender disappear, there would be a great disbalance. Without women, men would have trouble with the question, why? Without men, women would have trouble with the question, how? Now, this is only half the mystery of the difference between men and women. In summary, men are impregnated by emotion and will to then create physically and mentally, and women are impregnated physically and mentally to then create emotionally and inspirationally. We understand this now. Men bring goals into reality, and women turn reality into goals. Men turn emotions into thoughts, and women turn thoughts into emotions. The second half of the mystery will explain why men have been dominant for almost all of history, despite the polarity's seeming equality in power. Think on it. The answer will be given soon.